Hi, I'm Barbara Rimkunis, and this is your Exeter History Minute. Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. Did you know Paul Revere rode into Exeter? He did. But before we get to that, we need to back up a bit to December of 1774, when New Englanders were worried that the Royal Military was trying to keep down protesters by hiding all the gunpowder. In our little corner of the world in southeast New Hampshire, most of the gunpowder stores were held at a small fort or castle in Portsmouth Harbor. It was known as Fort William and Mary. Whose gunpowder was it? Remember, the colonists were British in 1774. The gunpowder at Fort William and Mary was supposed to belong to the province of New Hampshire. In Massachusetts, there had been numerous skirmishes during the summer and fall due to the movement of gunpowder. A committee of safety was formed to keep the other colonies informed, and one of the messengers of this committee was Paul Revere, a Boston silversmith. That December, Paul Revere rode into Portsmouth, not Exeter, we're not there yet, to tell New Hampshire that they should move that gunpowder away from the coast, just in case they might need it later. Having delivered the message, Revere rode back to Boston. Patriots in Portsmouth held a protest rally at noon on December 14th to organize. Several hundred men boarded boats, met up with more men from Newcastle, and headed for the fort. There, they encountered Captain John Cochrane and five provincial soldiers guarding the fort. In all fairness, they tried their best to protect the fort. They fired off some warning shots, which were not returned by the Patriots, and refused to yield the fort when demanded. But 6 guys really can't pull this off when facing 400 fired-up locals. The soldiers were subdued, and around 100 barrels of gunpowder were loaded onto the boats and rowed to Portsmouth by late in the afternoon. The following day, a second raid led by John Sullivan took arms and artillery pieces. These were taken to Durham for safekeeping. The royal governor, Wentworth, was aghast at these events. He wrote, "Besides committing many treasonable insults and outrages, they did break open the magazine of said castle and plundered it of above 100 barrels of gunpowder, with upwards of 60 stand of small arms, and did also force from the ramparts of said castle and carry off 16 pieces of cannon and other military stores in open hostility and direct opposition of his Majesty's government, and in the most atrocious contempt of his crown and dignity." He ended his proclamation with, "God save the King." So where did the gunpowder wind up? There's a legend that it was stored in the basement of the Durham Congregational Church. But within a few months, we find 72 barrels had made their way to Exeter, which was already serving as the de facto capital of New Hampshire. 29 barrels stayed in Exeter, first at individual homes, but later stored in the powder house, much safer than Grandpa's basement. The rest was parceled out to the neighboring towns of Kingston, Epping, Poplin, which is now Fremont, Nottingham, Brentwood, Londonderry, and Portsmouth. Some of this gunpowder was later used at the Battle of Bunker Hill and helped arm the troops after Lexington and Concord. So when did Paul Revere come to Exeter? I'm sorry this is a bit dull, but he arrived in town on January 26th to have a discussion with the Provincial Congress. Governor Wentworth was aware of this visit and Exeter's role. In a letter, he wrote, "Paul Revere went express thither yesterday noon. It portends a storm rather than peace." He was right. For more on Exeter's role as the Revolutionary War capital of New Hampshire, check our website at www.exeterhistory.org.